With plans up in the air for unifying the WWE Tag Team titles and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for April 12th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. While Rey Mysterio was set to take on Veer Mahan on Raw last night, he would end up being replaced in the match by his son Dominic, as Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio why this change took place. It's a medical issue. It wasn't false advertising, or they changed their minds. He was unavailable tonight. So they put Dominic in the place, and Dominic just got destroyed. They could probably do Rey in a week or two. During his talk with Ryan Satin on Out of Character, Sami Zayn would mention that throughout his time in WWE, there were points where he felt underappreciated. I've been pretty prominently featured since coming up on the main roster. It happened once or twice while I was just sitting on the sidelines, and those are the only times I really did feel like I was really unhappy here. It would only last maybe 2 or 3 weeks, tops, but nothing is worse than feeling underappreciated and unvalued. After leaving NXT earlier this year, Johnny Gargano was taking a break from pro wrestling, but recently spoke with What Culture about the possibility of making a return to the WWE main roster. WWE, at the end of the day, was always the company I watched growing up. It was my dream to be there. It was my dream to wrestle for that company, and I had a hell of a run there. There's a big part of me that still feels a little unfulfilled. I feel like towards the end of my NXT run, I felt complete. I feel I did everything I possibly could in NXT, but for me, I'm always this underdog looking for different mountains to climb and hills to topple over. I just want a new mountain to climb. On Raw last night, we finally saw the main roster call-up of former NXT champion Tommaso Ciampa. Talking to Metro, Ciampa revealed he will do anything to make the most out of this situation. Creatively, I'm not very hard to please in the sense that I just view it as, give me 5 minutes, and I'll make the best 5 minutes I can, whatever that means, whatever I'm asked to do. If comedy is my future, whatever it is, I don't know. I just look at it like, there's no ending to this. So, if I do comedy for a couple of months, it doesn't mean after that I can't go back and do something else I might enjoy. There's no ending. With this first segment on Raw being a comedic one with Kevin Owens and Ezekiel, it remains to be seen what's next for Ciampa. Yesterday, it was revealed after Cody Rhodes' match against The Miz on Raw that the American Nightmare will be facing Seth Rollins in a rematch at WrestleMania Backlash. When it comes to the timeline for Cody negotiating and working out his deal with WWE, Dave Meltzer had this to say on Wrestling Observer Radio. For those of you wondering about the timing, that means that he was negotiating with AEW at least through February 2nd, which was after the Sammy Guevara match that he lost. When people go, why did Tony Khan just not renew him with his option year? The reality is that they were negotiating for more money on top of that. They were in talks. Obviously, come January 1st, in some way, shape, or form, he got an idea of what offer he could get elsewhere. The fact is, he said it wasn't an easy decision, but the date was February 2nd. Did this come right after the Royal Rumble, or was he looking at staying and then all of a sudden something happened? Obviously, something happened. We know that. Obviously, everyone wants to know the real story, and no one does, but the date at least lets you know. He made the decision February 2nd that week. He was at the hotel bar, and he said it just became clear to him at that point that he had to go, and that's when he told his wife. And it would have been the 14th was the day it really broke. It publicly broke on the 15th, but the 14th was the day that the lawyers were involved and it was all going down. So he made the decision actually 12 days before that. According to a report from PW Insider, Cody is listed as the number 2 babyface on Monday Night Raw, second to Bobby Lashley, with AJ Styles behind him at third. Also, when it comes to Cody using terms like pro wrestling and belts in WWE, the Observer would add that this is all scripted. His gimmick apparently is that he gets to say the words that nobody else gets to say and gets corrected. Since Money in the Bank last year, Asuka has not been seen on WWE programming, as she is thought to be dealing with an injury. Talking about her on Busted Open Radio, Mark Henry was asked if WWE lost faith in Asuka, to which he responded, "If WWE actually did lose faith in Asuka, I definitely think it's their fault. Because when she came in, she was not the same Asuka that left. The Asuka that left, I would show the Rocky videos of Asuka training. I would show her in the dojo with the young girls. I would show her working out with the intent of coming back and her looking in the mirror and seeing a video playing of all the success that she had and what she looked like when she had that success. And that's all you need." It was said by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful that WWE were hoping for Asuka to return in the spring, so hopefully that is still the game plan. Despite JBL having a reputation as a backstage bully in WWE, Randy Orton revealed on Out of Character that Bradshaw never gave him any trouble due to his family history. "My father took Bradshaw on his very first tour of Japan back in the early 90s. He took care of Bradshaw, took him under his wing, and had his back. Bradshaw, of course, the way he works, never forget that, and me being Bob Orton's kid, Bradshaw never gave me any shit. He was always one of those guys, man. Those local guys, those new guys, they'd come and he'd give them a hard time. Nothing wrong, but just messing with the guy. Just guys being guys. You need a little bit of that. But I was never a target because of my dad. I was such a lucky little asshole. No wonder everybody hated me." Last night on Raw, the Usos made their intentions to become the unified WWE Tag Team Champions clear when they confronted RK Bro. When it comes to unifying the belts, it was said on Wrestling Observer Radio that plans are up in the air. There was a suggestion made about the tag team titles. Vince liked the suggestion. What they're going to do, I don't know. I think eventually they're going to end up with 2 sets of tag team champions again, and 2 world champions. If they do the unification match, which they're very clearly going to do, unless it's like a one-time thing and they do a draw, someone's going to have both belts. You can't the next week reverse that. If you're going to sell it as a big thing, you've got to keep it going for a couple of months. The feeling used to be that you need a singles champion, a tag team champion, a women's champion on each show, just because that's how it's always been done. If they're going to just have Roman Reigns as the only major singles champion, and then they do this for the tag team titles, it just changes the dynamic. AEW President Tony Khan has made his issues with supposed bots targeting the company with online hatred known, with a study yet to come out that he says proves his claim. On the Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T would chime in on the issue, giving advice to Khan, saying, "Is Tony Khan losing his damn mind? I know he's off into analytics. I think he works in that field, but people are going to hate, okay? Everybody is not going to like you. I know Eric Bischoff said that Tony Khan had thin skin, and this came out right after that. I don't know if that proves that or not. If you think they're not going to talk about you, you're wrong. If you think they're talking about you, there again, they say any news is good news, right? So if they're talking about you, good or bad, for me it's good. You should look at my Twitter account. Tony, they hate me, but I've got so much love from so many people at the same time. I'm sure Tony Khan has got a lot of love from so many people, because this guy is delivering jobs. So thinking about that, not thinking about how people on Twitter, because you will lose your mind thinking about people that is saying negative comments about you. That's all it has got to be, is comments, because I haven't seen anything but pretty much good stories about AEW in the social media sphere. So I don't know, man, kick out. That's what we say in the wrestling business. You'll be alright. I believe it. I believe it as far as people having negative comments because I see them all the time. Cody Rhodes right now is a pariah as far as AEW fans go. They hate him. It's amazing how 1 minute they can love you, and the next minute they can hate you. But then again, that's what the wrestling business is. You can be a heel one day, and you can be a babyface the next. I love it, man. If you're tuning in, it's good. That's the way I look at it. In regards to Brian Alvarez's claim on Wrestling Observer Live that the study was commissioned by the AEW president using his analytics company, Khan responded, "Not using my own company for it. Hired an independent person to review it. I have no idea where Brian got that. I must now dock his $200K a month paycheck according to one of those preposterous lists where Dave also was receiving similar compensation, then liked and retweeted by hundreds of bots." Since making his way back to the main roster, Austin Theory has been featured prominently, becoming the protege of Vince McMahon. But like all stars with a first and last name, one is always on the chopping block. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said Vince McMahon changed his name because he did not like the sound of Steve Austin versus Austin Theory. After getting hit with a stunner at Mania 38, Theory will not have a first name going forward. After attempting to murder a man charged with molesting his young relative, former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez was arrested. His charges are first-degree attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon, as well as other offenses. He released his first statement since the arrest, writing, "To everyone who has expressed their support for us, my family, and I can never thank you enough. From the depths of our hearts and souls, we are eternally grateful for your love. Your selfless acts and encouraging words have given me strength in my darkest moments. This story is complex and is slowly unfolding right now. To all the true victims of this case, may God grant you the strength to speak publicly. Although the hardest part is reliving the pain you have suffered, by speaking honestly, justice will be done, and your true recovery will begin. I will never stop helping and loving my community and all of you. Thank you for loving me." Taking to social media, Buff Bagwell wrote, "I just joined CYN. Wait, never mind, it was just gas." This caused Control Your Narrative's Braun Strowman to respond with an article regarding Bagwell's arrest for driving under the influence, as he wrote, "Funny you're gonna try and throw shade, cause what, you think it's the cool thing to do? You wanna look edgy? Cause you sure were a mark asking to take a picture with me. You should probably worry about your narrative." Buff would then write, "Yes, I asked for a picture. I've always had a fascination with clowns. You're mad at me over a joke. Don't be so sensitive. It's only Twitter." With a fan saying that Bagwell is pandering to progressive wrestling fans despite facing a DUI charge, Braun would write, "It's sad, isn't it? Also imagine being someone defending those actions like they're okay." Bagwell would then respond with a mugshot of Strowman, arrested for operating a boat while intoxicated. "Should I've done it on the water? Something about glass houses. I'm open about my past mistakes and tend not to bring others up against them. You got offended because I made a joke about something I didn't even know you were a part of because I didn't know you." Thankfully, Braun would apologize, and they'd express their best wishes. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.